This video was made possible by the 𝐸𝐴 Creator Network. Hi everyone, it's Chrissie and welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another Sims 4 speed build. So today we're sharing another one of my Enchanted by Nature early access builds, and this build was actually the first one that I did when I got my hands on the pack. So before we get any further into this video, I do just want to say that this was recorded while I had early access to the pack of this was a special version of the game that was completely separate from the normal game, where I only had access to the base game and the new pack. And that is also why I have a little watermark floating around on the screen of my name. That was actually on the game itself. It's not something that I put there. It was, there when I was playing it as well. Hopefully it's not too distracting. I feel like at this point I have looked at it so much, not just with this early access, but with previous early access, versions and like packs and stuff like that as well, that I honestly don't even see it anymore unless it's like very clearly blocking something that I want to read. Otherwise, other than that, I honestly don't feel like I even see it anymore. But I know for some people it can be a little bit annoying to see a little floating watermark on the screen constantly. But yeah, unfortunately, I couldn't do anything to remove it. So yeah, we're just dealing with it. But yeah, with all of that said, like I said, early version of the game, huge thank you to the Creator Network for allowing me to be part of this kind of like, it's almost like an event almost, because it is a completely separate version of the game, but a part of this whole process basically, let's just put it that way. And yeah, I had a lot of fun building with this pack. Like I said, this was actually the first build that I did when I got my hands on the pack. So this was honestly me going in blind and just trying to see what I could do, trying to see what I could use, how I could use the various items that we got. And honestly, I had a little bit of inspiration for this build from the original house that was here. Originally on this lot, there used to be a starter home. I don't know who built the starter home exactly. I know all of the builders for this pack, and I will have their links in the description below, because there were like 4 amazing builders for this pack that built all of the lots. But I can't remember exactly who built this specific lot. But I did take a little bit of inspiration for the shape of the build from the original. But I also took a little bit of inspiration from the burrow from Harry Potter. And yes, I know Harry Potter is... the series itself is problematic, and the author is an absolute word that I cannot say on a family-friendly channel. So yeah, honestly, I don't support the author. I don't support the author at all. Honestly, she is a absolutely horrendous human being, and the series itself is problematic. But I do like some of the architecture in that world. Basically, I like the buildings in that. Let's just put it that way. So I did take a little bit of inspiration from the burrow for this, with the whole like higgledy-piggledy kind of lopsided, weirdly shaped aspect of it. Obviously, this doesn't look like the burrow in the slightest, like at all. It's a completely different style and everything like that. I wanted it to look a little bit like haphazard almost, kind of like there's various bump outs and stuff like that that's just sprung up around the place, and that doesn't necessarily make sense when you look at it, but it works somehow. And that's kind of the idea that I had. So that's also why I used a couple of different roof textures. I used the grass and flower roof texture that we got with the pack, and then I also used the new like shingle roof texture as well for part of it. So like I said, I wanted to make it look like it has kind of been added to and expanded and built over the course of years, and it wasn't just all built in a day and it's supposed to all match and be perfect together. I wanted it to make it look like a little bit more, a little bit more haphazard and almost organic looking, if that makes sense. I don't know if that is the best way of explaining it, but that was kind of my thought process. And also just all over the place, because when I was building this, I was feeling a little bit all over the place because it was my first time building with the pack. I wasn't exactly sure what I was doing. I had absolutely no like plan ahead of time. I just went in, figured out some sort of shape and figured out some sort of like floor plan that could work with it, that I didn't even end up recording because it took me 7 centuries. But after that, I just kind of winged it with the color scheme and the furniture and all of that stuff. So that is what you will be seeing in this video. Just me going in, being very indecisive, and just trying to use as many of the new items as I possibly can in one build. So yeah, that is basically what this build is. But I had a lot of fun with it. I absolutely adore the lot that I'm building on. I am building on a 20 by 20 lot in the Everdew area of Innisgreen. So this is kind of the more, I guess you would say, like mystical, magical part of the world where there's a lot of fairies around. A lot of the lots actually have the fairy passage lot trait that I talked about in my world overview. Basically what that lot trait does is it just means that if you're playing on a lot with that trait, then you will have a lot of fairies in the world surrounding the lot. A lot of them will just walk by the lot. A lot of them will just, you know, spawn around the area and around the lot, and it's just a really nice way for your sim to meet fairies if that is something that you want them to do. It's almost like the teen hangout lot trait, or I believe there's a couple of them from Cats and Dogs as well, where there will be like a bunch of strays in the area. Kind of the same thing, except with fairies instead of stray cats and dogs. So yeah, I feel like that's something that definitely fits with the area, and I don't know, I love this part of the world. I said this in my world overview, but this part, like Everdew, is probably my favorite part of Innisgreen. It's super magical looking. There's a lot of like really big toadstools around and a lot of fairies and just colors, and it's beautiful. The only complaint that I have is that both of the lots that I've built on so far, this one and then the 30 by 20 lot that I built on, that was the previous build that I shared, both of these lots have, I'm not a big fan of the lighting of the lots. Like currently I'm building in the like afternoon, like 12 o'clock afternoon lighting, and it doesn't hit the lot really well. Like there's a lot of shadows on these lots, or at least on the 2 that I've built on. I don't know about the other ones yet, but I feel like it's not great for like the lighting for screenshots. I found that the best lighting so far that I found was at the like evening time, kind of like around sunset, and even then there's a bit of like, there's a lot of shadows, and I know why. It's because there's a lot of really big trees in the way. This lot in particular is literally built on a tree. It's placed in the middle of this absolutely giant, enormous tree. And yes, because of that, there are a lot of shadows because the tree is blocking a lot of the sunlight. So realistically, not realistically, but rationally, it makes sense why the lighting wouldn't be as like full on, like from the front, for example, that a lot of other lots might have. But from a speed builder's point of view, and from someone that really likes having good lighting for thumbnail pictures, it's a little bit annoying. But I do realize that that is very much a YouTuber's like problem. It's not something that I feel like the majority of Sims players will even notice, because most people don't look at the lot and then the first thought that they have is, oh, will this make for a good thumbnail picture? I know most people don't think of it that way. But that is just something that I've noticed, and I know some people do care about that, so it's just something that I wanted to bring up. And I am also just kind of rambly, so whatever I feel like comes up, I will probably end up sharing. But yeah, going back to the actual build, we've moved on to the interior now. I did cut out some things on the exterior, like me placing ivy, because I placed a lot of ivy and wisteria around the place. I feel like that is going to be a recurring theme in a lot of these builds, because I love the ivy and wisteria that we got with the pack, and I will be using them everywhere, inside, outside, I don't care, I will be using them. And once I start building with the other packs as well, I will also be using Ivy and Wisteria up the wazoo, because I don't know, I like that. So I like building overgrown looking builds. What can I say? But yeah, we've moved on to the interior and we've started with the kitchen like I always do. I ended up going with this kind of like light wood and red swatch for the counters and cabinets that I absolutely love. I love these counters. Some of the swatches are a little bit harder to use than others. And I know I mentioned that in my previous build as well, where I ended up using a like blue and like red wood swatch, which that swatch is probably one of the hardest ones to use. And I'm very happy that I managed to use it in that build. But I really like this swatch and I can definitely see myself using it a lot. And then this whole like living space, living room, dining room, like kitchen is all one big open plan area kind of, with, you know, there is a little bit of separation obviously with the island counter separating the kitchen from the living room a little bit, and then that like spandrel, like is it a spandrel? I believe it's a spandrel that kind of separates the living room from the dining room entryway area a little bit, not a lot like floor plan wise, but it kind of gives you an idea of, you know, there is supposed to be separate spaces. But yeah, that is basically the main living area. And then through that archway to the left of the living room, we're actually going to have our kind of like apothecary slash gardening space, like apothecary slash sunroom slash, you know, greenhouse area that I feel like I'm probably going to end up including with a lot of these builds, because the apothecary skill really does need your sims really do need to have, you know, at least a few plants that they require for making like elixirs and, you know, all of the various medicines and things like that that the skill comes with. So yeah, I feel like I'm probably going to have some sort of greenhouse, sunroom, plant growing space, garden somewhere, in at least like somewhere on these lots, whether they're like indoors or outdoors or whatever. I feel like that is probably going to end up becoming like a staple. But for this one, this is another one that has a kind of like enclosed gardening space, just because I really wanted to use that new glass wall texture that we got with the pack. So basically, when I got early access to this, the early access version that we had was with the base game, the new pack, so everything that comes in the new pack, but it also included the base game update that came out, you know, like I think a week, yeah, I think at this point it's probably like a week and a half ago. So basically the patch that comes out before a new expansion releases, basically. And in those patches, they usually include a couple of new base game features that kind of tie in with either the theme of the pack or, you know, just something that things that they feel like would work well with the pack that they're releasing or stuff like that. And for this, they actually gave us a bunch of base game like glass wall textures that are actually like, you use it the way that you would use paint or wallpaper, and it basically just turns an entire wall into a huge window. And I am absolutely obsessed with that. I'm going to be using it so much for greenhouses, sunrooms. Honestly, even in just, you know, even if I'm thinking about, you know, modern builds, there's a lot you can do with a modern build with that as like accent walls or acting as windows instead of using actual window pieces, and it's gonna be so useful. But because this was the first build that I did with the pack, and that I did, you know, exploring the base game update as well, I wanted to use the wall swatch that we got with the pack itself. So that is why I have that big, like, you know, sunroom greenhouse bit. But yeah, so I don't even think I've mentioned this yet because I'm all over the place with this voiceover. But this house is actually 4 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. So I figured, you know, I wanted to do some sort of generational thing for fairies. So when I was doing the bedrooms for this build, the idea that I had in my head was that we would have a couple of parents, or maybe 1 parent, 2 parents, it doesn't really matter. But then they would also have a couple of grandparents. So that is actually the bedroom that we're working on right now. I figured this would be the grandparents' bedroom. There is a full bathroom downstairs with a shower, toilet, sink, and it's not an ensuite, but in my head it would be the one that the grandparents probably use the most often. Then on the second floor we have 2 bedrooms. So we have one that is what I thought would be for a child, not a teenager, but like an actual child, because I do end up putting toys in that bedroom. And then we have another bedroom that's kind of like a nursery / younger kids room that we're working on right now, which I figured would be for a toddler and an infant, so they would have both of them. And then we would have the child's bedroom as well on the second floor. And then on the second floor there's also a bigger like family bathroom that has the new shower and the new corner tub and toilet and all of that stuff. And I did end up cutting out the bathrooms because I spent a little bit more time detailing them than I probably should have, considering that they're just bathrooms. But again, first time building with this pack, so I kind of went all out with the detailing. But I will show them to you guys at the end of the video in the little tour that I always do. But yeah, so on this floor we have 2 bedrooms, big family bathroom, and then on the third floor we have kind of like the main suite, basically. So up there's just a little hallway, and then we have the main parents' bedroom as well as their ensuite bathroom. So overall you can fit like 2, 4, 6, 7 Sims on this lot if you have like 2 parents and 2 grandparents. So yeah, you can fit a lot of Sims on this lot if you really wanted to. Considering it's only a 20 by 20 lot, it's fairly big. It is a fairly big house. It's 3 bathrooms as well, so there's a bathroom on each floor. And yeah, there's a lot of space for a lot of Sims, and you could probably end up fitting in even more Sims if you really wanted to. If you wanted to swap out the kids' bed for like a twin bed or like a what do you call it? A bunk bed. My brain just like stopped working there for a second. But yeah, if you wanted to swap out the single bed for a bunk bed or something, then you could have even more Sims living on this lot if you really wanted to go for like maximum chaos. Or have a child, an infant, a toddler, and maybe like a cat or a dog if you really want to get like full on chaotic. If you're someone like me that sometimes enjoys the chaos when it comes to gameplay, why not throw in a pet into the mix as well, if you really want to torture yourself that way. But yeah, again, I also mentioned this in my previous video, but I really wish we got a single bed that matched the style of this pack. Like, if we got a single bed that looked like the double bed but in smaller form, that would have just been absolutely perfect. I honestly don't know why we didn't get a single bed, because if I'm being completely honest, none of the base game beds match the style of this pack. Like, none of them match. That one that I'm using now is probably the closest for the swatch idea that I had for this bedroom. There's like pink and yellow and blue and like light woods. But the style of the bed itself doesn't match the other items in this room at all. And I feel like none of the base game beds actually match with this pack. So personally, for someone that has all of the packs, that won't be an issue for me, I don't think, because I can use a bed from like Realm of Magic or any other pack that I have, because there are a lot of them. So I probably won't have as hard of a time finding a bed that matches with the like whimsical magical style, or even like has similar swatches or things like that from the other packs. But if you're someone that only plays with the base game and, this pack, maybe you're new to the game, this is the first pack that you're getting, and you have only the base game, then, you're not going to have something that matches. Or if you're someone that has only, a select amount of other packs that maybe have completely different furniture styles, then you're gonna struggle. So I feel like when they do stuff like this, where they give us a double bed, a toddler bed, and an infant crib, why not complete the set and give us a single bed as well? Because they're already giving us all of the other life stages. Why not something for a child sim as well? Like, that, it just, I don't know if it was an oversight, or I don't know if, I know it probably wasn't an oversight. I know it probably was a specific choice that they made. I just don't understand why they would make that choice, if that makes sense. Like, it doesn't make sense to me as a builder that, you know, they wouldn't give us something like that. Same with the couches. Another weird random tangent, but the same thing happens with the couches a lot of the times, where they'll give us either like a love seat version and an armchair, or they'll give us a 3-seater version and an armchair, but they won't give us like the other couch. So they won't give us like a 3-seater, a love seat, and an armchair. They'll give us like one of the two. Like, it makes no sense to me. Like in this one, for example, we got 2 armchairs, one with a pillow and one without a pillow, and then the armrests are a little bit different on both of them. And then we got a 3-seater sofa, but we have no matching 2-seater sofa. So if I want to do a big-ish living room where I have like a 3-seater, 2-seater, and an armchair, I can't do that because none of the base game like couches match. So it's annoying. Like, it is one of those weird niggly, like, probably most people wouldn't notice this or wouldn't really care about it, but as someone that is mainly a builder that likes having like items that are versatile and that can fit in different spaces, because having a 3-seater is great. But if you're building a smaller house, like maybe a tiny home or a smaller family home or like a little cottage or something, which is something that I really want to build with this pack, by the way, like a small cottage, not one that's like 3 stories tall, or like for a family or something, just a small 1-bedroom cottage, then, you know, if I want to have a small cozy living room, I'm gonna have to make it big enough so that I can fit that 3-seater sofa, because I'm obsessed with it and I want to use it everywhere, and I want to use stuff from the new pack, obviously. But that just means that I will have to make my living room big enough to fit the sofa. I can't just say, oh, I'll have a small living room and a small couch, because we don't have said small couch, which is just annoying. And I feel like I'm very rambly and ranty in this video, not to make it sound like I hate a lot of the stuff of this pack, because I honestly don't. This is probably one of, I don't know, I feel like this year has been very hit or miss for me personally when it comes to Sims packs. Not because the packs haven't been good, because they have all been really, really good. Like Life and Death, absolutely fantastic, even though I haven't explored like even half of that pack, even though I have barely built. I think I've done like 1 build in that world. But this this year so far has just been incredibly busy for me personally, like real life stuff. So I feel like it's been really difficult for me to get like super into a new pack and be like super excited for it and want to be like, you know, constantly doing something with it, almost like hyper focusing on it. And this just hasn't been the case this year with like all of the other packs so far, because I haven't physically had the time to do that. There's always been something else that was, you know, demanding my attention, or that was, you know, making so that I had to focus on something else instead of a pack, and that just meant that I couldn't spend time getting as excited for the new pack as I would have normally done, if that makes sense. But for this one, I am so excited for this pack. Like, I have even done some gameplay with it, which, if you guys know me, you know that usually when a new pack comes out, I won't touch gameplay for months afterwards. Like, like I said, Life and Death, haven't explored even half of it. You know, same even with businesses and hobbies. I've barely touched that pack. Like, even though I absolutely love it and I've done a lot of builds with it, I haven't really played with it. Whereas with this pack, I've done some gameplay. I've explored fairies, mostly because I'm obsessed with fairies and I love them and they're gorgeous, and I just want to spend all of my time in Creator Sim creating various different fairies, which I will be doing. I will be doing another Creator Sim video, at least 1 more of them. I have 2 of them that I want to do. I already have the ideas for 2 more Creator Sim videos, but we'll see. But yeah, so for a change, I'm like excited about every aspect of a pack, not just build mode. I'm excited about gameplay and creator sim and actually exploring all of the aspects of a pack. So yeah, I'm really excited about this pack is what I'm basically trying to get at, and I've really been enjoying it so far. I know some people have encountered bugs and glitches and, you know, normal Sims things. I say normal because we all know at this point when a new pack releases, we get a whole bunch of new bugs with it. That is just something that happens, and at this point I know it's not good, it's not something that we should be okay with, because it isn't, but at this point I've kind of just accepted it and I've just filed it under the whole, it's The Sims, it's weird, it's quirky, it's always going to be that way, just let it go and focus on something else. But I know even with all of that, I personally haven't really run into many bugs, like touch wood, hopefully that stays that way. And I've just been enjoying it. I've been doing my best to just enjoy it, and even though my life still is quite busy, and I actually have my sister here for the first time in like a year and a half, I'm getting to spend some time with her. She's visiting for a couple of weeks, so I'm super excited. But even with that, I'm still going to try and focus on videos and getting things out for you guys, because I do enjoy this pack and I want to focus on making content again because I've really missed it. But with all of that said, we're going to go on ahead and jump on into the game, and I'm going to show you guys around the build a little bit more and in a little bit more detail. Okay, so here we are with the finished build in the game. And yeah, like I said in the voiceover, it is only base game and the new pack, so it should be pretty easy to download it if you have the pack and the base game. But this is what it looks like all finished. I thought I would give you guys a little panning view of the exterior. I absolutely love the way it turned out. I know I cut out quite a few things of the like detailing process of this build, like adding in the ivy, adding in these like wooden details, and you know, roof details and things like that, just because it took me forever and I was very finicky with it, so I changed it up a lot. But yeah, this is what it looks like all done. And like I said in the speed build, the lighting on this lot is a little bit wonky and not great, because like I said, obviously you can see this big shadow. That's because of the actual big tree that the lot is in. So yeah, the lighting on this lot isn't the best for screenshots, but it is an absolutely gorgeous lot. So going on and starting with the little tour. So as you come in, we have a little like a little swing set. My brain just stopped working for a second. We have a swing set, we have a little seating area, I have a little fairy house out here as well. And then there are two doors. One of the doors leads into the little like greenhouse sunroom type space, but this is the front door. As you walk in, we have the dining room space with, you know, a magical plant on the table, because of course we would have that. But yeah, we have a little entryway, we have the dining room right off of the entryway. We have a little corner over here where we have a bathroom and a bedroom, but we have a high chair because I thought that the Sims that live here would have both a toddler and an infant, so having a high chair is kind of necessary for that. But yeah, we have a living room over here as well with a fireplace. We have a bunch of like pretty like branch like lighting fixtures and everything like that. We also have a little shelf and a bookcase. And yeah, just a bunch of clutter and random things that I put down that I felt like fit the vibe, if that makes sense. They do also have a little small TV over here in the corner and some more magical plants. And then the kitchen that I'm obsessed with. I love the swatch of this counter, of these counters and like cabinets. I love the swatches in this kitchen. But yeah, so they have everything that they need. They don't have a dishwasher, just because I didn't feel like it fit the older, homey, kind of cottagey, fairy vibe all that much. So I didn't give them a dishwasher. But yeah, they do have a little sink over there, and obviously you could easily add in a dishwasher or any other like appliances that you feel like they would need. They do have a tea maker, but I didn't add a coffee maker or a microwave or anything like that. But you could very easily add that if you wanted to. They also have a little hot chocolate station. And then over here, through the living room space, we have an archway that leads you into the greenhouse space. So this is very overgrown. There's a lot of like ivy and plants everywhere. I did play test all of these plants. So even these ones that are on like the shelves, like that one and the ones over here on the shelves, they all work. They're all accessible, so you don't have to worry about that. But yeah, so there's a bunch of plants over here, and you know, most of them are for the apothecary skill, but there are a couple of them that aren't for the apothecary skill, mostly just like dragon fruit and like orchids and stuff like that. But yeah, there are a bunch of apothecary stuff in that room. And then the other rooms on the first floor is the bathroom over here. That is very plain. It's just, you know, toilet, shower, sink, all of the basic stuff that you would need in a bathroom. And then we also have the grandparents' bedroom on the first floor as well. So they just have a little like clothing rack over there, a big mirror. They obviously have the brand new bed. I don't know why there is a gnome in their bedroom. That's not supposed to be there. Ignore that. I was playtesting this house, so that's probably why there's a gnome. But yeah, so they have their bed, and that is basically it for this bedroom. It's not super detailed because there's not a lot of space, obviously, but they have everything that they need. And I decided to not go too overboard with like wall details because they have this beautiful mural wallpaper throughout the whole bedroom, and I felt like having pictures and decorative things on too many of the walls would just be a little bit too overdone, if that makes sense. But going upstairs to the second floor, you walk up and you have this cute little like reading corner over here with a tree bookshelf. We also have some more plants and just random like little tables and things like that. They also do have a computer desk area. I actually used the most expensive computer simply because I felt like it blended in a little bit. It was a little bit less, I don't know, like it's a little bit less conspicuous, if that I mean, I could have used this one, but I didn't feel like it worked, and just I don't know, I preferred that one. It also has the little like reddish pink like keyboard, so I felt like it just blended in a little bit better. But yeah, so they have a little like, I guess almost like a little study area on this second floor, like balcony, or not balcony, but like hallway space. On the second floor we do have 2 kids rooms and then the main like big family bathroom. So this bathroom has a shower, a new corner tub that we got with the pack, toilet, and a bunch of sinks, and also a little toddler potty as well, because like I said, I thought that they would have a toddler. So right across from the bathroom we have the toddler and infant bedroom. So we have a little toddler bed, we have another bookshelf that I'm obsessed with. I love these bookshelves. We have a little toy box and a little infant crib and a little chair. Not too much going on in here because the bedroom itself isn't too big. But in my head, you know, the kid can play throughout the whole house. So yeah, obviously they don't need to be just restricted to their bedrooms. And then the other bedroom is what I thought would be for a child. So yeah, we have a little bed, we have a dresser, we have a little bookcase, and then just a bunch of clutter items. I also used the new dollhouse as well, and a little stuffed animal for them as well. So yeah, they have some toys in their bedroom too. And then the last floor, the third floor, is basically all just like big main suite area almost. They do have a little chest table over here on this landing and a little seating area. But the rest of this is all just like the main bedroom. So the main bedroom has their own fireplace, a little chair, another one of those like wardrobe racks. I used the same bed because we did only get one double bed, obviously, but I used a different swatch of it, and I love this. I love this bedroom so much. It's probably my favorite bedroom, apart from maybe the toddler's room. I love the toddler's room. But yeah, I love the way this bedroom turned out, and I did play test it, so your Sims can get around the whole bed, like use both sides and all of that stuff. And they also do have their own ensuite as well. So just again, toilet, sink, shower, very plain, but everything that your Sims need. So there is space for 7 Sims if you wanted there to be 7 Sims in this build. And like I said, it is only base game and the new pack, so if you want to go ahead and download it, I will make sure that it is up on the gallery by the time that this video goes out. I'll also make sure to upload my other build that I've already done as well to the gallery too. But yeah, so here is a little floor plan overview for you guys in case you wanted to see that. But yeah, with all of that said, this is basically it for this little tour video. But yeah, like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and it will be up on the gallery, like I already mentioned. And I will also try and make sure that my other build that I've already released is also up there, as well as the Sims that I created, the twin fairies that I created earlier in the week, and I will make sure that they're all up on the gallery for you guys to download. They're all base game and the new pack only. So yeah, that should be very easy to download if you want to download them. Obviously, they're all CC free and all of that stuff as well. But I hope you guys enjoyed this build, and if you have any suggestions for builds or families or fairies or anything like that, themes or anything like that that you want to see me do for like builds or anything, then definitely feel free to let me know in the comments. I always love hearing from you guys. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this build. I know it was probably very rambly. I'm recording the voiceover portion and this tour on like different days, so my brain is a little bit scatterbrained. Just bear with me. But I hope you enjoyed it nonetheless, and I will talk to you all in my very next video. Bye everyone.